Childhood bilingualism is when children learn multiple languages from earliest childhood. Bilingual acquisition can take place in one of two ways. Simultaneous acquisition and sequential acquisition. Simultaneous acquisition is when a child is raised bilingual from birth. Sequential acquisition is when a second language is introduced after the age of 3, when the first language is already well established. Now let's look at some learners' characteristics. The first one is motivation. Motivation are the reasons that learners have for learning a new language. It can be extrinsic or intrinsic motivation. The second one is anxiety. And I remember that Krashen said that learners need a little bit of anxiety in order to learn a language and to produce language. Beliefs. They influence how students approach language learning. So they will choose what method or a strategy suits them better according to their characteristics and their way of learning. Behaviorism, mimicry, and memorization is concerned with observable stimulus-response behaviors. It is believed that behaviors are learned through the interaction with the environment through a process called conditioning. Now let's look at some memorization techniques used in this approach. Flashcards. These are great for learning and memorizing new terms. Learn from general to specific. Assign meaningfulness to things. One method used within this approach is the audiolingual method. Usually defined as the system of categories, mechanisms, and constraints shared by all human languages and considered to be innate. So this theory doesn't claim that all natural languages have the same grammar or that all humans are programmed with a structure that underlines all expressions of human languages, but that there are a series of rules that help children to acquire their mother tongue. So Chomsky states that beyond the superficial differences in the organization of words that exist between different languages, all languages share a deep structure that is natural, that is part of the same human brain. A good example of this is the subject-object-verb Japanese structure versus the subject-verb-object English structure. Perhaps the only thing that makes it different is the organization. We need like the same 3 parts to form a sentence, but there is still this similarity in the need of the same 3 elements to form a sentence. That's what he called universal grammar. Krashen's monitor model. The learned system proposes that the linguistic and grammatical knowledge resulting from formal teaching only performs the function of a guide and corrector of the formulated sentences. The acquired system or second language acquisition is constituted by three elements: the affective filter hypothesis, the input hypothesis, and the natural order hypothesis. This is also known as the monitor model. The proper functioning of the monitor model depends on the following factors. First, the time it takes for the learner to select and apply a learned rule. Second, the emphasis on correctness of linguistic production or focus on form. And third, knowledge of the rules, which is determined by the degree of complexity of the rules by the student. Connectionism. The central principle of connectionism is that mental phenomena can be described by networks of simple and common units that are interconnected. All knowledge is embodied in a network of simple processing units joined by connections, which are strengthened or weakened in response to regularities in input patterns. So, according to this, connectionism models are focused on how language learning occurs in our brain and the mental processes that are involved when we learn a language and how our brain responds to those processes.